I'm Caleb Brooks with the AHSAA Radio Network. I'm at Oak Mountain High School, joined by head football coach, Coach Cris Bell. And Coach, for you guys here, I was telling your players, it's crazy to think they're already halfway, through the season. It blows my mind. I woke up on Monday and just said, golly, we've already played half the high school season. We're 5 weeks into college football, 4 weeks into NFL. It flies by. And for you guys here, you got off to a good start this season. You beat Chelsea 17-0 first game, and it's like I was telling, Will, your linebacker, we've seen what they've been able to do on offense.
Yeah, and they've turned it on since we played them.
So to hold them to 0, it's a good accomplishment for you guys. And
well, defensively, we've got some kids, and we're undersized, but we have some speed. And I was optimistic that we'd be able to. To show some improvement defensively. The tough thing is we come out of Chelsea and then you dive right into, Hewitt, Thompson, Hoover, which traditionally are the last few years have been the 3 better offensive teams in our region. And that's certainly not a slight to who we have left to play, because we have the utmost respect for everybody. But we just, those particularly, all 3 of them, they're big up front. We're not real big up front. We had some trouble getting off blocks, had trouble, really stopping the run game with all 3 of those teams. Although, I thought we played much better against Hoover. Our problem with Hoover was we turned the ball over 3 times in special teams, which led directly to 21 points. So, we give up 37 against them. 21 of those are, attributed directly to our special teams. So, you look at that, that's 16 points that the defense really gave up. And, after what after our performance against Hoover the last couple of years, that's a pretty big improvement. And then last week against Pelham, we played, with the exception of one play, we played really well on defense against Pelham.
And you've kind of been on a crazy ride yourself as a coach. You started out in Virginia. You're from Virginia. Began your coaching career there. You've done some colleges. You got back into high school in Georgia. Finally made the move over here, and you guys run a unique offense here. You run a triple option, and other places run it, but you don't see it very often in football in general.
No, and now the thing is, you look at all these RPO teams, and it's still triple option football. They're just taking it
a different way.
From a different way, and. The thing, people ask, well, why do you do it? And, the reality is it suits our personnel right now. And, I tell people, look, my favorite play on offense is one where we're giving the ball to the official after we score a touchdown. However it takes to get there, we'll do it. We've been able to, when you look at the history of Oak Mountain, now we're struggling a little bit offensively right now. We're so young. We're, out of our top 5 offensive linemen, we only have 1 senior right now. I think we got 1 running back who's a senior. We've got a couple of receivers who are seniors, but we are really, really young on that side of the ball, and it shows at times, and sometimes it shows at the worst time. But when we get things clicking, which you look at how we played Hewitt, which has been by far our best offensive football game. But that's a game where we came off the ball up front. Guys were executing at a high level. We were blocking on the perimeter really well. And we were able to throw and catch, and that's for us, we're not super big up front offensively. We don't have the bodies just to move those defensive linemen that we're going to face week in and week out. So my philosophy is, well, let's get double teams where we can get them. Let's read guys instead of having to block them. Let's see if we can't read them in the run game, and read ourselves into a good football play. We've got to start throwing the ball a little bit better. Last week against Pelham, we out of 66 offensive plays, we actually had 42% of our plays were called pass plays. Now we ended up only throwing 18 of them, but we had some other plays that broke down. Evan ended up turning into runs, whatnot. But we can do that because we're going to get one-on-one matchups. We just got to win those one-on-one matchups, and we've had trouble this year consistently doing that.
You've been a coordinator on both sides of the ball in your time as an assistant, and being at all these different places, being at both levels, college and high school. How much did that help get you ready, for your job here at Oak Mountain?
Well, I think, my first head coaching job was in 1999, and I think at the time I was 32 years old, I guess, 32 years old. And you always think you're ready, and I can remember about halfway through that summer, and I'd been a coordinator on both sides of the ball at that point, and I'd coached 1 year college ball at that point. And you think you're ready, and I can remember about halfway through calling a friend of mine and saying, why did I think I was even close to being ready? And then, so that was 99, and then, I have a couple more years in college. I have another head coaching job at a small private school in Georgia before I come here. And again, it's the same thing. I think every job presents its unique challenges. I don't care how often you do it. I think you're better prepared to handle some things as you go deeper, but there's always going to be surprises. And I hopefully we've grown into this thing, and hopefully we did this. I think, when we got this job, we were very intentional about what we wanted to do and looking at the program. The good thing was from the time really that I was offered and took the job to the time it was announced, it was almost, it was over a month, when that happened. And in that month, I was able to do an awful lot of just behind the scenes look at where the program was and what we needed to do to get it to where we wanted it. And that I really think was invaluable and allowed us to really, our first 3-4 years here, we got things going in a really good way. We've slipped up here the last 3-4 years, and hopefully, we got 5 ball games right here to really get this thing pointed in the right direction that I think we can. Now again, the challenge is there, and we've told our guys, we got to take it a week at a time, but it gets down to, doing the right things on and off the field. Making sure the kids understand work ethic, because nothing comes easy, and I think that's the tough thing right now. Football in Alabama is high school football in Alabama is, it's really as good as anywhere. And I think the thing that I tell people, and having been in Georgia, and there's more, and we were in Metro Atlanta, there's more people in Metro Atlanta than in the entire state of Alabama. But per capita, when you look at the number of good football players, and we've got schools that are, teeny that are going to put out a couple of good football players every year or every other year. The quality of coaching that we have here in the state, it's as good as anywhere that I've been, certainly. And again, that includes Georgia, that includes Virginia, Tennessee, Texas. And I've got friends that are down in Florida, and I just think it's as good as anywhere. And you've got to be successful here, you have to work your tail off, and the kids have to understand that they've got to work their tails off. There's other sports where, maybe, there's only a couple of good teams in those sports where, you've got to get up to play those teams. Well, for us, and again, we're in a heck of a region, but there's a lot of tough regions in the state. Yeah. And there's no cupcakes on our schedule. Even this year, you look at Chelsea, and they're a class below us, but they haven't lost since we played them. They got a big game this week. Pelham's down a little bit this year, but last year they had a heck of a ball club and just absolutely beat the brakes off of us a year ago. So there's not a week that we can go out and relax or say, hey, this one's in the bag. It just doesn't exist. Now, you can sit there and moan and whine about it and say, gosh, I really wish it was different. Or you can look at that and say, man, what an opportunity we have. And I tell our kids all the time, there are high school kids all over this country that they can play 4 years and they'll never play in ball games as meaningful as the ones that we get to play in week in and week out. And, that's the exciting thing. And I think as I get older, I certainly appreciate it more than I probably did when I was younger, and even as a player, because I think as a player you just don't see things like that. But it's something that I know our kids early on really, they grasped that concept, and we've got the community here it's a great community. They really are. They do love football. They want to be good in football. We've just got to do a better job of being consistent with it. and winning close ball games. I think that's the thing the first couple of years, first 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, we were winning close ball games, and that's when last few years we've lost those close ball games, and we've got to find a way to get on the plus side of those again.
And I'm glad that you brought up being in Virginia and the difference, because I've asked some coaches. I just got done last week talking to Ezell Powell that's down at Georgiana, Rick Darlington that's at Enterprise, and both of them kind of said the same thing of there's not any better athletes anywhere else than here in that state of Alabama. And they said one of the differences is there's probably better coaching in the state of Alabama than there is any other state. What do you think it is that makes the coaching here so good?
Well, one, I think football is important. And, there is, Alabama is, it's the favorite place that I've lived. And, and even, when I was, I'm born and raised in Virginia. My family's from there, but as a kid, I just fell in love with Coach Bryant and the University of Alabama football. And there's something about again, we don't have any professional teams. I know people keep clamoring, hey, we want Birmingham to have a professional football team. I don't know that. It really would, I'm afraid, change the character of this place and how we treat football, because being in Atlanta, and look, high school football in Georgia is really good too, but when you're in Atlanta, and it's one thing when it was just the University of Georgia, when it was just Georgia Tech, but when they got the Falcons and now they got the Braves, they got the Hawks, whatever, I can't even remember the hockey team they have, but it changes even the way they view the local sports programs. Now you get into South Georgia, and it's still big time down there. But the thing about to be in a metro area like we are here in Birmingham, and to have the emphasis on high school football that we still have in Birmingham, other places, I mean, growing up in Richmond, it was kind of like that when I was growing up in Richmond. It's not like that at all anymore up there. It's unique, and again, I think it really helps to create an environment where you have kids that's still, I mean, going out there and playing high school football is still important to them. They're going to bust their tail to get out. Our kids here work as hard as any place I've ever been, high school or college, and it is a special deal. And I again, I don't ever want to stop an area from moving forward, but I really don't think we're backwards at all, and I think there's some things that we do better than anybody, and certainly I think high school football is one of them.
Evan brought up that you guys are trying to throw the ball around a little bit more. You talked about that. 42% of y'all's plays were called pass plays. What is it that makes you want? I mean, do you feel like you just need to in order to compete with these teams?
Well, I mean, number one, that's what we're getting. The thing when you run the option, you're going to get one-on-one matchups, and when you get those matchups, you got to take advantage of them, and you got to win. So one, it's there. It's we just have to execute. Two, to get people out of the box so that we can run the ball better, we got to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you're looking at it on one level. That's what people are giving us. On the other level, to open up what we really want to do, because I think, again, you can look at a bunch of different, there's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat, but at the end of the day, when you look at championship teams, consistently, and there's always aberrations, but consistently, those teams are the ones that are going to be able to run the football. And so we've got to be able to run the ball. But also, when I worked for Coach Sparks up at Carson Newman, and he and I had been friends for a long time, but he was famous for saying, hey, and he was a split back veer guy his entire, from the time as a player, as an assistant coach, head coach, so from the mid-'60s until he passed away just a couple years ago, he was a split back veer guy. But he'd say this, he'd say, you got to be able to run to win, and you got to be able to throw to win. And if you're going to win at a high level, you've got to be able to do those two things. And I can remember there were ball games when I was coaching up there, and there were games when we ran for 200 yards and threw for 300 yards. And that we've had games like that here, where 2015, we played Thompson, and early on, they were really, they were stuffing us with the run, and we kind of hung in there, but we had to throw the ball. We ended up throwing for about 270, 290 that ball game, and we ran for almost 200 yards that ball game. So we had 500 yards of offense, and again, more of it was throwing the ball than running the ball. But that they opened that up. We were able to take advantage of it. We were down 31-7, came back and won that ball game 41-38. So we had to do it to win.
Yeah.
So those are things that James Clemens playoff game in 2014, we fell behind 35-6 in that ball game, and we ended up getting back in it with the run. But what opened that up was there was a couple things they gave us in the pass game, and we were able to take advantage of it. We didn't throw a boatload of passes that ball game, but the ones we threw, we were able to hit for big plays, and it loosened them up, and we were able to run the ball and take advantage of it. And again, we ended up putting up 63 points on the board that night, and I think people look at what we do, and they're saying there's no way you could score that many points in a high school football game, but we did, and that was after being down. We were down 35-13 at half, and still put up 63. So it it can be done, and it's just something we got to keep working on and keep improving. And
and a lot of coaches run the triple option to slow the game down to help their defense. It doesn't seem like that's what your mindset on it is.
It is and it isn't. I think there's certainly the thing you got to do offensively is you've got to get first downs, and so whatever it takes to get first downs, because if I don't get first downs, I'm not hanging on to the ball. Now, if I'm playing somebody and I'm so overmatched, then I may just take the air out of the ball completely, and we'll run that play clock down, and we'll run it and try to get a first down. But if we don't, we'll say, look, we're going to run off, we're going to run off 2 minutes of the clock every time we have it at a minimum, just with the 40-second clock. But that's still in but 2 minutes. So you've got to move the ball. So one of the things that, again, we have in our toolbox is the ability to go no huddle, and we can do that and run it, with a fast tempo. We can do that and run it with a slow tempo. With us being so young right now, it's been hard for us to make the adjustments when we don't huddle that we need to make. And for our kids right now, it's just a little bit better to get them gathered up. But we've, again, in the past, those are things that we've done and what we're going to do again. With as much junk as Coach Yeager throws at us, I may just have to, I may have a couple things up my sleeve to throw at him this week. I texted him today and I said, Chris, I've been meeting with the rules committee, and all those crap formations that you like to show, we've decided that those are illegal this week, so you can't do it. So I don't know that he'll adhere to that or not, but whatever we got to do to win is what we're going to try to do.
And like you mentioned, you still got 5 games ahead of you. You guys have the opportunity to get exactly where you want to get to. It's not going to be easy. You got Mountain Brook this week, who's played really good ball over the last 2 years. Vestavia sitting there, and their only loss is to Mountain Brook. Right. Coach Anderson's got them playing well. You got Spain Park sitting there. It's not going to be easy, but what is it going to take for you guys? What's the one thing that you go, if we just fix this, we can make a little run here and go do something?
There's really 2 things. I'll do 3. I'll look at each area of each facet of the game, each phase of the game. So special teams, we've got to be sound in the kicking game. We've got to, we can't give up big plays, blocks, returns for touchdowns. We've had 2. We've opened up the Hewitt game and the Thompson game, kicking off, and they've returned them for touchdowns. Against Hoover, we give up a block kick for a touchdown, plus we turn the ball over twice in the return game that end up leading to touchdowns. We've got to shore ourselves up there, and we have. Last week we played much better in the kicking game, and we just can't make mistakes there. Defensively, we've got to tackle. We've tackled much better the last 2 weeks, but against Hewitt and against Thompson, we were atrocious tackling. So when we tackle well, we play good defense, and that's again, that's nothing novel. That's as long as we've been playing this game, that's what you got to do on defense: get off blocks and tackle. And then offensively, there's one thing that, and again, I think this this is probably the most important thing that we have to do out of all three phases. We've got to come off the football offensively. When we have struggled this year, it's been because we've not just come off the ball, whether we're uncertain of what we're doing, whether we're just, again, I don't know. But it's, I mean, what we do is, I mean, pin your ears back. You know, we tell our guys all the time, guys, we're running a 100-yard dash. And so when we snap that football, you're coming out of the blocks like you're running a 100-yard dash. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And if our guys will, if we'll just get that done offensively, our offensive line will just get that. If our receivers, when we are throwing our screens, when we're coming off just running our routes at all, if we'll come out and play much faster offensively, then that's going to allow us to, to take advantage of what teams are giving us and give us an opportunity to be successful. You go back and you watch film. I think as a coach, you always sit there and think, you know what? Well, maybe we could have done this, or maybe we could have done that. And again, I think that's always true. But I think the big thing when we go back and we watch film against Thompson, when we watch film against Hoover, when we watched film against Pelham last week, I mean, again, against Chelsea, we didn't have a very good game offensively against Chelsea. Those games, we're not coming off the ball. You go back and watch us against Hewitt, we came off the football. We won the battle up front. Now in the fourth quarter, when we started to stumble a little bit offensively against Hewitt, we didn't come off the ball anymore. And that's what we've got to we've got to clean up. So we do those things, take it a week at a time. Again, nothing novel. That's what you got to do. I mean, right now our focus, the most important ball game we have is Mountain Brook.
Mm-hmm.
Next week it'll be County. The week after that it'll be Spain Park, and it'll be Vestavia. I mean, and we've got to. That week it's the most important week, and if we take care of business this week, then guess what? Next week's going to be a little bit bigger than this week.
Yeah.
We take care of business then that next week's going to be a little bit bigger, and that's what you want. I mean, you want each succeeding ball game to be more important than the previous one, and if you're doing those things, then you're playing at a high level and you're enjoying it. And again, it's one of those deals where, gosh, there's a lot of people across this country who would kill to be in your shoes.
Yeah, no doubt.
So.
Do you kind of like the fact that you have kind of gotten Thompson, Hoover? I mean, not that's a knock on these other teams, but the last couple of years it's been those three at the top, and now y'all kind of get to play your way into that fourth spot, basically.
And I think the thing what bothers me when I get asked that question is people almost, they assume that you take those three and you're just, well, there's no way we can win those games, and there's a mindset where that kills you when you do that, and I think some of our people have thought that, oh gosh, well you got those three, they're already assuming that you're going to be 0-3,
mm-hmm.
And again, the reality is this, and I'm not going to take anything away from the three teams that we've already played, but I can go back and I can pull up the Hewitt film and I can go in there and I can say, guys, we should have won that football game. Now, they can probably look at it and say the game shouldn't have been close. I don't think they would, but I'm sure that they could. But we, looking at that ball game, we had opportunities to win that football game. We didn't take advantage of it. And that's what, Spain Park 2 weeks ago, whenever they played them, they did. I mean, I doubt anybody was giving Spain Park, a snowball's chance in Hades to win that ball game, and they hung around there and they did what they had to do, and they got stops when they needed to get stops, and they won the game. So I don't care where we play them, who we play where. Like I said, every game is tough in this region. There's none. And last year our problem was when we got through this three, we relaxed. We were like, whew, glad to get rid of them. And then we go to Pelham, and they just, they beat us like we stole something. And we turn around, and now all of a sudden, where we had some confidence, we don't have confidence. We play. Now, we did improve defensively as the year went on last year. Offensively, we kind of got worse until the last ball game. But we lost confidence. We get shut out against Mountain Brook. We played poorly against County. We get shut out against Spain Park, and you can't relax. You've got to, again, we tell our guys, hey, each week it's just it's a nameless opponent. We're playing, you know, opponent. This is opponent number 6, you know, and in reality, you know, if we want to restart the season and say we're going from right here, this is opponent number 1.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to take these guys and get after them. You know, because at the end of the day, with where I would like to see this program, I'd like for us to sit there and say, I don't care who we're playing. We're going to win the football game.
Yeah.
You know, to have that kind of mindset. I was talking to Coach Freeman a couple weeks ago, and I think the best thing that he's done there is those kids. Now, they've made a commitment to football, and it shows with everything they have down there. They got such a beautiful facility. But the thing, when you watch his kids, the difference between the Thompson kids today and the Thompson kids when I first got here is those kids believe they belong. And we were close to that. I'm the head football coach. It's my fault for not getting us over that hump. But we've got to get back to where our kids believe we belong. And it doesn't matter if we're playing, you know, whether it's Hewitt, Thompson, Hoover, Mountain Brook, Vestavia, County, Spain Park, Central, McGill. It doesn't matter who it is. That you know, Bob Jones, James Clemens, that our kids belong, and we deserve to be where we are. And you know, we should never walk into a ball game thinking anything other than we're going to walk out of here winners. Not out of arrogance, just out of confidence.
Oh, no doubt. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you allowing me to come in and visit with you guys. You know, visit with your players, see this place. My first time ever even getting to really come to Oak Mountain High School and see it. So
I need to come up and look at the practice facility because it's a beautiful site. A couple of weeks when the leaves start to change, it'll be pretty. It's the best looking place in the state.
Yes, sir. I'll try to make my way up here, and I wish you guys nothing but luck, and really looking forward to seeing how this second half of the season goes for you.
Hopefully you're bringing us luck.
Yes, sir.